Hey everyone, it's Dan with 901 Cravings and welcome back to another video, and today is going to be a very special video. Welcome back to another very special episode. This is a special week here in Memphis because this is Memphis Black Restaurant Week, where every single black owned business and restaurant is highlighted and showcased for one single week, even though it should be all the time. But they are getting shown love for this one special week. And I'm getting shown love too as a black entrepreneur because I'm getting spotlighted by the lovely, beautiful ladies of Alpha Alpha Gamma Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. So AAGO has decided to spotlight me as a local black entrepreneur, and I do have a Zoom call coming up with them this Saturday to where I get to talk to the whole chapter and also people from the community. And one thing they wanted me to do was create a special recipe for the members of AAGO so that they can learn how to cook some things at home too. And so I said, how about I do a modified version of shrimp and grits? And it's an idea I've been having to do, that I've been wanting to do for a while. I'm going to do fried grit cakes with lobster and shrimp. So now let's get to cooking. And we are going to start off our recipe by prepping some peppers and onions. We're going to chop up some red bell pepper and some green bell pepper and an onion that we're going to use for our grits later on to not only help give it color, but also help give it some flavor. And as you can see, we are slicing and chopping up our peppers and our onions. And I got my onion right here, going ahead and getting it prepped to get ready to diced up. And I got a quick question. Does anyone still cry when they cut an onion, or is it just me? You would think I would get used to it by now, but I'm not. And once you're all done prepping your onions and peppers, we're gonna put them in a bowl. We're gonna get ready to cook them. We have a preheated skillet with olive oil, and we want to drop those bad boys in and start cooking them on down, getting those nice smells going. And so we are just cooking these down until they are nice, soft, and translucent. Not overly brown, not overly burnt, but just nice, soft, and translucent. Give them a quick stir because you don't want them sticking to the pan. Then once they are all cooked to the right point, as I see the onions right there, nice and good, we are going to get ready to scoop those out and put them into a bowl. Set them to the side so that they can go into our grits later on. And as you can see, I already have a pot of pre-made grits right here. And if you don't know how to make grits, grits are extremely easy. And I will put the directions down in the description box below. But let's go ahead and get to seasoning these creamy grits that I made for y'all in this recipe. And we're gonna add generous amounts of salt and pepper to our grits. And as I like to say, I like to let the ancestors guide me when seasoning my grits. I don't really go by measuring, but I will put the measurements down in the description box for y'all. But like I said, I let the ancestors guide me whenever I season my food. I mean, who wouldn't? The ancestors knew best. But we're also gonna add in some butter right here. I mean, butter goes in grits. Y'all should know that by now. And now we're going to give this a good old mix and a good old stir to help incorporate all them seasonings and to also give time for that butter to melt on down. And now we're about to get ready to add in the cheeses to the grits. And this is a 3-mix cheese of good old cheddar, Parmesan, and mozzarella. We're going to go ahead and give those a good old stir to go ahead and get that cheese all worked in. And now we're getting ready to add in the peppers and onions. And not only is this going to give it even more flavor, but it's also going to give it a good color contrast in the grit cakes. And now go ahead and give that a stir. And y'all just look at how cheesy and creamy those grits are. And now, as always, taste your food to make sure it tastes properly the way you want to. And once you're all done stirring up the grits, you're going to take a sheet pan that's lined with parchment or wax paper, and you're going to pour out your grits, and then take a flat spatula and push out your grits to the edges of the sheet pan, spreading them out to make sure it's evenly around the pan. And then take your grits and throw them in the fridge for several hours, or to speed up the process, I threw mine in the freezer to help hurriedly cool them down and to set so that we can form them into grit cakes. And at this moment, it is when I realized my goof of what I did. I realized that I really put too much moisture in the amount of grits that I made. Would have been too much, and it's going to take too long to cool down, and they're not going to set properly. But I was able to come up with a solution and fix everything, and I took a spatula and I was able to cut out smaller portions, and I put those on a separate pan, and they were able to freeze good. And as you can see, that's extremely nice and firm and the consistency that we want. And now I'm going to throw these back in the freezer while we set up our dredge station. And we are setting up a 3-part dredge station with flour, eggs, and panko breadcrumbs. And now we're going to scoop out a generous amount of flour into a bowl, and then we are going to season it with salt and pepper. Now, you don't want to do too much seasoning to the flour because the grits are already going to be extremely seasoned, so you don't want to be too much and overpower the whole dish. And now we're going to give that a quick whisk. Go ahead and mix those seasonings all up, and we're also going to crack 3 eggs into a bowl and go ahead and beat those together with a fork to go ahead and get them all loose. And now we're going to pour out our panko breadcrumbs. And so now, as an extra option, you could season your breadcrumbs too to give it some extra flavor. Just don't do too much. I left mine unseasoned because everything else is seasoned. And now let's go ahead and take our grit cakes out the freezer, and they are nice and firm, especially this one. So we're gonna drop this into our seasoned flour, give it a good coating, shake off excess, and now we're gonna dump this into our egg wash and then into our panko breadcrumbs as quickly as we can, because these will defrost fast, so you want to work quickly. And now here goes the part where like my mistake shows. Because of the amount of moisture, a lot of them didn't set correctly, and so since they did not set correctly, bow, they broke. Yeah, a mistake happened, but mistakes happen. No matter what you do in life, a mistake is going to happen, but you can't let that discourage you and stop you from going. So you keep trying and you keep trying until you get it right. This is truly a learning experience, because I know not to make them as big and not to make as many grit cakes. And then once the grit cakes are all formed, you dump the good ones inside a deep fryer that has been preheated to 350 degrees, and you let that good old bad boy fry until it is golden brown. And then once it is golden brown like this, you take it on about the fryer and we sit it to the side while we get our lobster ready. And the way we are preparing our lobster is we are butterflying a lobster. And to butterfly your lobster, all you do is you take a pair of scissors and you insert it between the shell and you cut alongside the backside of the lobster in a straight line. But in every case, if your scissors aren't sharp like mine and they are extremely dull and you can't cut the shell, you take your knife and you simply use force to crack the back of the shell. Don't use a lot of force to where you cut through it and you cut through the meat. You just want enough force to where you are cracking the back of the shell in a straight line. And then once you are able to put a straight line down the middle, you take your fingers and you separate the shell from the lobster meat that is in the middle right there. And then you take the meat out of it, as you can see, and then you just sit it on top of the shell, and there you have a butterfly lobster. And that's how you do butterfly lobster. We're gonna sit it on a sheet pan with olive oil, and then we're gonna season it. Like I said, you let them ancestors guide you with salt and pepper, some Cajun seasoning, and then you rub it all in. That looks a little weird, but take your lobster, put it into a 400-degree preheated oven for 10 minutes until it is cooked through. And now we got our shrimp that we are about to get ready to cook. So we got a hot skillet right here with some olive oil. We are dropping those shrimp in, and yes, I know it is pre-cooked shrimp, but there has been a shortage of raw shrimp, so we are making it do what it do. And hey, these shrimps are still gonna cook good, okay? We're gonna season it with some salt and pepper. We got some secret seasoning. We got some Cajun seasoning, and we're gonna let these shrimp cook on down. Make sure you flip your shrimp halfway to make sure they cook evenly and let all the seasoning get on all sides. And now we're gonna hit this pan with some Chardonnay wine and deglaze the bottom of the pan and let that wine cook on down. And then once it's cooked down, we're gonna add in some heavy whipping cream to get our sauce started. Go ahead and give that a good old stir. And we are now gonna add in some good old Parmesan cheese to help finish off that sauce. And go ahead and get that a good old stir around, get that Parmesan cheese all mixed in, get those seasonings mixed in, get that shrimp cooking in that sauce, and just look at how beautiful that sauce is. And now let's get to plating our dish. And I have my grit cake sitting right here on a plate, ready to assemble the whole entirety of this dish. Y'all, my mouth is watering. I can't wait to do this. So now let's go ahead and take our lobster tail out the oven. It's all cooked through, still sizzling. Just look at that bad boy. And now let's take our beautiful sauce that we had in this pan that we had cooking down. Just look at it. Just ooh, look at that sauce, y'all. We're gonna take that sauce and we're gonna drizzle it across the grit cake, and then to be fancy, we are gonna drizzle it around a circle in the pan to make it look real good. And then take a lobster tail, that big boy, and just sit him right on top of that grit cake in just the right position so he can be the main star of the show. And then we're gonna take our shrimp and start putting them around the grit cake, and then we're gonna take that beautiful sauce of ours and we're just gonna drizzle it all over that lobster tail, making him even better. And then we're gonna add chopped parsley, or as my friends like to call it, edible food glitter, to the plate to help give it some more pop. And boom, here it is, y'all, all done. One lobster and grit cake with shrimp. Y'all, this looks amazing, and I bet it tastes even better too. But y'all, I'm about to get ready to dig into this bad boy. I wish y'all was here, but let's dig in because I am hungry. And now here we are, lobster with fried grit cakes and shrimp. Y'all, sometimes I impress myself. I really do, especially with this recipe and the amount of mistakes that I did during the video. And so I just want to point that out. So if you're being a young entrepreneur or you're trying to get into YouTube content creation or just whatever it is, I want to always point out, you are going to make mistakes. Mistakes will happen, but don't ever let the mistakes get to you. A mistake is not a failure. A mistake and failure is a lesson. Now, let's try this. First, let's go ahead and try our shrimp. Woo! Good Lord! But you already know the main thing that I really want to try, and that's this grit cake. Ooh! And just look at that. Like I said, the color. Let's try another piece. Yo, that is good. Now, of course, let's try the big boy, the lobster. Peel him on out. Then the shell, toss it. Ow. This lobster is bussin'. All right, y'all, well, that's it for this video. Hey, shout out to Aago for spotlighting me and allowing me to get this opportunity to make this recipe for them. And to also, hopefully, I can help encourage any people that want to start a business or get into content creation. Like I said, go for it. Don't let mistakes get to you and stay at it, because hard work and determination does pay off, okay? But shout out to Black Restaurant Week, shout out to AKA, shout out to Aago, shout out to the whole Memphis. I love my city, and I love all the support that I get, not only from you, my YouTube community, but also everyone here in Memphis, Tennessee. But all right, y'all, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, okay? Bye-bye.